Good morning, everyone. The recommending committee meeting will be called to order at this time. Are we in compliance with the open meeting law?
Yes.
Okay. And for the record, bills moved out of recommending today will be eligible for adoption at the August 3rd City Council meeting. Oh, let me back up. Bill number 2011-28, if moved out of committee today, will be eligible for adoption at the August 17th City Council meeting. And if bill number 2011-31, if it's moved out of committee today, it will be eligible for adoption at the August 3rd meeting, for the record. So with that being said, we'll move to the first line item of business, which is bill number. Oh, yes, thank you so very much. You're correct. Due to the new legislation, we must have open, what is it?
Public comment.
Public comment. We must have public comment. So if there's anyone wishing to speak on any item being discussed here today and recommended, please come forward and state your name for the record. Please come forward.
You want me to sit over there?
You can sit right there. That's fine.
Okay.
The microphone is to your left.
Good morning.
Morning.
Dick Geyer, 8260 Hilton Head Court, president of 18B Las Vegas Arts District Neighborhood Association. I'm also secretary of Whirligig, the promoter of First Friday. I'd like to speak about the ordinance pertaining to the food vendors and the food vendor trucks. Basically, my background or understanding of how food trucks have functioned in my lifetime have been primarily at construction sites in places that were very remote, where people didn't have access to restaurants or what have you. Also, of course, peddling ice cream and those good things.
Mr. Chairman, I'll interrupt Dick for just
Yes,
one
sir.
second. Dick, the public comment period is of a limited length, so you know. And also, you should state if you are for or against the proposal that is directly in front of us. That way it helps focus our mind on exactly what it is that you want, or if you are suggesting an amendment. But it may be too late for that, I'm not sure.
I'm suggesting amendments, and therefore I'm for it with the amendments. But basically, I'll get right to the gist of the amendments that I would like. And this comes out of the experience that we're all having within the city. Number one, establishing a 1,000 to 1,500 foot exclusionary area away from taverns and restaurants that would be competing with them. The tavern business, of course, has a 1,500 foot exclusion, as we know. These also for events that are being put on by different organizations. What happens is when we have these events or with the restaurants themselves, they become free riders or poachers, whatever you want to call it. They pull up and without any of all the licensing and the cost and expense of a fixed location, they compete with those restaurants or with those events. Number two is require permission from the property owner for a food truck to park on that location and to do business there. There are a lot of open lots in the Arts District. There aren't a lot in other parts of town, but there are in the Arts District. And during First Friday and other events, the food trucks park in these open lots and do business and detract from the businesses that are there, or the bar, what have you, who's holding the event. They do this without the permission of the property owner, who may not even be in Las Vegas. For instance, at the last First Friday, there were two within 150 feet of the Arts Factory, which of course has both a restaurant and some outdoor food things during First Friday. We would like to, if the 1,000 foot or so provision, number one, would preclude it, but also it would seem to me that people should not be able to park on someone else's property without telling them and do business there. There's maybe a liability question, but anyway, it's not really fair to the property owner. And also, number three is that the ordinance should be very clear about the presence and permission for food vendors for these events that go on First Friday, either within the Whirly Gig location where they actually bring in food vendors. The El Cortez has an event, as you well know, it's very popular. Nevada Cancer Institute, I think recently I just got a fundraiser, they're having one. We want to be sure that it's very clear as to how that will happen and then how that permission is given. Do you have any questions about what I've said?
No, not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know how this is going to work out, this new law. So I don't know if we're actually in a testimony giving kind of mode or simply a
No, my
public
understanding
comment
is
with
just
no
public
discussion.
comment with no discussion. We open it up, and once we go to public
Right.
comment, then we can basically have dialogue. Yes, sir.
You're correct, Councilman Barlow. What I would like to do in the future with these meetings is make an announcement that the first public comment item isn't really necessary. And I'm working with the clerk's office to try and get that item removed from the agenda. The reason is this: state law requires you either to have public comment on every item or to put one up front. Well, recommending is precisely for the purpose of hearing comment, and in fact, our agenda says public comment will be taken on every item. And in order to avoid this situation where we have testimony being given
Up front
prematurely,
and back.
because the public doesn't know, what we'll do until this paragraph is removed is indicate that if you want to have your public comment heard in connection with the bill, please wait, because it doesn't make sense for us to open this up for public comment and then just, yeah. But certainly for purposes of this meeting, the clerk can attach these comments that Mr. Guy made to the appropriate item.
Okay.
So in essence, we'll have to do that on every item. This is a short agenda, so this is not a problem. We'd have to hear from our people, like our professionals who are going to introduce the bill, and, do the intro, and then answer the questions that I asked last time. This is the second time on that, which by the way, I have answers outside of meeting. And then we open up the public comment on each bill.
Okay. So we'll move to the first line item of business, which is item number 4, bill number 2011-28, which is an abeyance item for possible action updates to the city regulations pertaining to mobile food vendors to conform to other applicable regulations regarding the operational limitations for such vendors. Proposed by Flynn Fagg. Great to see you. I'd like to hear from you.
Flynn Fagg with the Planning Department. Again, this was reviewed by the recommending committee 2 weeks ago. We have no changes to the proposed ordinance. There had been a question at that time relative to the fees imposed by Metro. I think we've answered those questions in the interim, and if you have any additional questions, we'll take those at this time.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Karen Duddleston with licensing, just here to respond to questions if you have any.
Great. Councilman?
I just want to make sure that those answers given to me in the interim, though, are on the record.
Okay, Karen, if you would.
Certainly. The amount of money that Metro actually charges, because that was my main concern. We were going to go away from a specific dollar max mentioned here to whatever the so-called applicable fee was. Well, we didn't know what that dollar fee was as applicable.
For the record, Karen Duddleston, Business Licensing Manager. Previously to the mobile food vendors text changes, the council had already adopted a new fee schedule for Metro. This piece that limited the background check for the mobile food vendors to $50 was not removed at that time. So the fee deposits are in Municipal Code 6.06-100, and it is $250 made payable to Metro on license applications, and $150 made payable for investigations of approval for suitability applications. So that was already previously adopted, so it's $150. And it's consistent among the licenses.
Thank you.
Okay. And council, for clarification, there were 3 items that the gentleman, 3 bullets that the gentleman brought forward as far as to establish either 1,000 or 1,500 foot separation. of mobile food vendors require the food vendor truck to garner permission from the properties in which they park and make sure that the ordinance is clear about the rules for food vendors during First Friday. How do we address those concerns moving forward?
Those potentially could be amended into the bill. The problem with that is we would need to go through the business impact statement process first. This bill, as it was introduced, was of a nature that it didn't impose additional burdens on those affected by the ordinance, and in some cases was less stringent, so we didn't need to go through the business impact statement process. If we're adding things now that affect existing or future businesses, we need to have them have an opportunity to come in before it moves forward. And so we could do that, or we could come back with those changes in a future ordinance, depending on what you want to do.
So in essence, what I'm hearing is, should we move forward with these recommendations, it could ultimately affect the overall aspect of every food vendor around the valley, which is not necessarily what we're trying to do. We're trying to address the issue at, or
Right.
the concerns
Right.
for.
Yeah, I would recommend that we
First
go
Friday.
forward with this and then come back to address those other broader issues so that we can do an impact statement process.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I think on this kind of an issue, there's more to it than meets the eye, because if you put a limit, a distance limit, by the way, I'm not opposed to that, it's a thoughtful thing, because it does make sense. People are investing for a ephemeral event, and so they want to get maximum impact. But if you pass something that simply has a distance limit, that means that there would
Construction
have,
sites.
yeah, construction sites already near and stuff like. Also, any event, a football game, soccer match, or whatever, all of a sudden now we might be prohibiting mobile vendors from being near something.
It's true.
Unless we have a way to finesse this, I'm not sure what it is, but there's probably nothing wrong with passing the ordinance as is, because there was a need on the fees, and then simply, as council suggested, coming back with another ordinance to amend this, because this is not permissive of anything new. We're not repealing any existing means of distance requirements, if there are any. I don't know, because we don't have the copy of the full, I don't think we have the copy of the full ordinance here.
No, not before us.
Is that right?
That's correct. You don't have all the limitations.
Yeah, so I don't know what the other limitations are. But we're not repealing any of those, we're simply making a fee change.
By fee change and changing the description of the health
The description of the health
district.
So I think we could change this, approve this today without amending, and then, ask council to come back with a suitable amendment after they've researched the business impact. What do you think?
Well, I have to open it up for public comment.
Yeah.
Okay. At this time, I would like to open up for public comment. If there's anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come forward and state your name for the record. Seeing none, council, recommendation?
Well, I would move to,
I'll just,
okay.
excuse me, this just came up in a mind that we wanted to come and then be a part of this process, but I see now that we're here that...
Give me just a second, and
Yeah.
please state your name for the
Oh,
record.
Dick Geyer, 8260 Hilton Head Court, President of 18B, the Las Vegas Arts District Neighborhood
Glad to
Association.
hear from you.
Thank you. I think the process that you're proposing today is appropriate to pass this piece of, this ordinance, and then for those of us in the Arts District to work with planning and go through the process, work with our city councilman, and settle on exactly what it is that we want. These are three generalities to open for discussion, and go forward and make these changes in a few months. If that's, that I think is a more appropriate way to conduct these changes, because they are, as you mentioned, there are complications that have to be looked into, and the impact statement has to be written and what have you. So I appreciate your allowing me to speak today and spending this time with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guy. Council,
I move to pass.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Bill number 2011-31. possible action removes the term limitations applicable to members of the planning commission, sponsored by Councilman Ricky Barlow. Can I sponsor my own bill and vote for it too?
Give me the gavel. so you can get
You will not be with that yet.
If there's anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come forward and state your name for the record. Seeing none, Councilman?
I would just like to enter into discussion on it. I'll tell you what, I'll move to pass, and then I would like to have discussion and give my opinions on it, because there's some controversy. In fact, I would like to add for the record, Mr. Chairman, comments in opposition to the ordinance from the Charleston Neighborhood Preservation, something, I'm not sure, it's some association. I think they're fairly well organized. Anyway, they're opposed. Their comments here can be entered into the record.
You want to read them into the record?
No, I just want to
Okay.
add, and it's not in my word, but I thought maybe we'll
Okay.
just make sure that they are heard. The idea is that I'm familiar with term limits in many ways. I was disappointed that I couldn't reappoint my planning commissioner. And the reason is because this is an exceptional sort of thing. It's not a political office, even though some people would consider it to be powerful. In fact, it's not a political office. I think that's different. These people are there to lend expertise and volunteer their time. And sometimes you get exceptional people who, with their institutional memory, can help very greatly assist the council in making decisions. And I've seen this from the outside. Now I'm on the inside, and my opinion has not changed. I feel like I'm disappointed that we have that now, but I would like to see it removed. Again, it's not a political office. It's one, while they do serve for terms certain, that helps take politics out of it. Because I can't just go and fire my commissioner if I don't like what he or she did on a particular thing. So I think that's good. And so we're losing some institutional memory here. It's a quasi-political, I suppose, in a sense, but really it's supposed to take the politics out of the process. For that, I really believe we should repeal term limits. I understand the arguments pro and con,
Right.
but I've decided to support.
Okay.
So I have moved to do pass.
Okay, and let me just put my comments on the record as well. I received numerous emails for and against removing the term limits for planning commission. I too looked at it from the standpoint of it's a non-political office. It's actually a position in which to help the council person, whomever, sitting in the council seat to make decisions and extra set of eyes and ears to be more effective on behalf of the constituency. And the fact that the planning commissioner will serve at the council's discretion at that given point, the council person will have an opportunity to either switch their planning commissioner or continue to keep the same planning commissioner. So it's not as though the same planning commissioner will be able to serve forever unless the following council person chooses to keep that planning commissioner. And I believe that that's fair. And with that, I would also support the idea in the motion to remove the term limits for planning commissioners and allow them to serve at the discretion of the incoming council person or representative of each ward. So those are my comments moving forward, and I will accept the motion made by Councilman Coffin and ask for the vote.
Aye.
Chairman, can I ask a question? I know I've asked Val this before the meeting. On Section D,
State your name for the record.
I'm Orlando Sanchez, Deputy City Manager. It says members may be removed after a public hearing by a majority of the vote of City Council for inefficiency, neglect of duty, or malfeasance in office. So I just want to make sure for the record that if you do have a change of guards for council individuals, they might not rise to that definition there, but you might just want to change it because the council wants to change a different person. So I want for the record just to know that there is language in it that allows it to be changed for a little bit more if it's just a change of the council that wants something different to sit there.
That's correct.
And if they don't meet these requirements on D, and that was my concern, I just want to bring it out to you.
And and thank you for bringing that out as well, Orlando, because that's a safeguard for the council because what we don't want is to basically handcuff ourselves and not have the opportunity to
Correct.
remove a planning commissioner for doing something that was not appropriate on behalf of the city of Las Vegas. And so that's the council's out, if you will, to remove a planning commissioner for something of a malfeasance that will, you know, not only embarrass, but basically do harm to the city of Las Vegas or its constituents. Yes. So all in favor?
Aye,
Aye. So moved.
and that'll be on the agenda tomorrow.
That will be on the agenda for tomorrow, sir. Okay. So now we're back to public comment. Anyone wishing to speak on this item may come forward and state your name for the record. Seeing none, Councilman?
I'd like to, first, before we adjourn, I'd like to welcome the new reporter, the in-house reporter from the Review Journal, Ben Spillman, who's here. Ben Spillman, S-P-I-L-L.
Correct.
Who's, I do with the legislature, and always be a fair reportage. And I'm sure you'll be up here bugging us and trying to figure out what kind of cars we drive. You know,
Beautiful.
I think he does. I liked Alan Choate, by the way.
Beautiful vehicles.
I thought that Alan Choate did a fine job and was very fair, I thought, balanced. So I expect the same out of Ben Spillman.
Okay. Welcome, Mr. Spillman.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, well, okay. So with that being said, a
Motion to
motion?
adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Thank you all.